So in this video, I'm gonna be sharing with you 7 reasons of why that people from all over the world are moving to Mexico. A few cases of friends that I met back in China are now here living already in my country. Yeah. So hello, my name is Samar. I was previously living in China for about 15 years, and since the pandemic I've been staying here, and this is the main reason that people started coming. It was because Mexico didn't have almost any restriction to enter the country as many other countries did. So all these like travel nomads, people that were making a living like traveling with their computers, taking videos, having some e-commerce kind of business, perhaps Amazon or their own e-shop. It was easy for them to be living, for example, in Thailand or Bali. When it was the Chinese New Year, I usually will take a vacation and go to Bali for taking yoga classes, eating delicious vegan food. It was quite cheap for me. I mean, the term itself, China, has a mistaken connotation for many, and is that it's cheap. China, cheap, No, I just make it up right now, but it's totally biased. Like, seriously, China, especially first-tier cities, are not cheap at all. Not the city that I was living in, which was Shenzhen back in the day. So being in Bali, Indonesia, for me was amazing. Great vegan food and all kind of yoga classes to amazing prices. So people that were perhaps just like myself, that I will be working remotely and I could stay there for some time, especially during the Chinese holiday. I met a lot of digital nomads that were making money online, and I also knew a lot of friends that previously were living in Shenzhen. After the living costs got higher and higher, just moved somewhere else, like Thailand, somewhere, Vietnam, Cambodia. These places were on the rise, like the Southeast Asian region, because, they were cheaper than China. China was the place to go 15 years ago or 20 years ago. So a lot of people that were traveling at that time when the pandemic started, traveling or already living this nomad lifestyle in Southeast Asia or somewhere around perhaps Europe, they encountered this quite difficult in regarding to entering countries because, they were this lockdown. So Mexico was welcoming. We didn't have any restriction. People from all over the world were coming without any requirement almost. People came here perhaps for a while, went to Tulum, to Oaxaca, to my city, Guadalajara is quite popular as well, to Ajijic, and they loved it. Somehow they wanted to stay longer. Because of the first reason is weather. We have a great weather here in Mexico. I mean, in all the country. Of course, some areas are more comfortable than others because the south of Mexico is quite hot and humid. We have the beaches of like Quintana Roo, Tulum, Cancun, Riviera Maya, etc. And the north of Mexico is hot but dry. We have deserts. So it all depends on which kind of weather would you like to be living in, which kind of like lifestyle, So the first reason is going to be good weather. The second reason is going to be cheap food. Seriously, the food here, it's quite good. You guys all know it. I don't have to double emphasize on that Mexican food is quite known all around the world because it's good. And it's not just good because it's cheap compared to when I was living in China, at least in my city where I was living in Shenzhen. I will pay perhaps even 3 times the price that I'm paying here for one whole day of meals. I became a vegan in China and the cost of fruits there was quite high. It's really expensive compared to overall Latin America. It's super popular. We have a lot of colorful fruits and they are not as expensive as perhaps if you were living in Russia, Europe, and the United States, Canada, etc., right? Because those countries are cold, so it's quite hard to get variety of fruits, so it's quite expensive. But here we are lucky enough to have the good weather and therefore a lot of fruits, a lot of vegetables. So I've heard that a lot of people like that aspect, especially of being living in Mexico, that they have a big variety of different Mexican foods as well as foreign foods, and the price, it's really affordable. The third reason is going to be cheap housing. So I heard that a lot of people, especially in the USA, of course, because we are neighbors, as prices increase there, cost of life increases. Young people, I'm talking, of course, like perhaps people under 50s have already a home to live forever, but not the young generations like 20, 30s. They are open to these options, and one of them is gonna be living in Mexico because it will be more affordable for them to buy a house here than in the USA, or to even pay an apartment and be living somewhere, perhaps in Tulum, in Cancun, in a very beautiful area for a price that will be lower than if they will ever be buying some property back in the USA. This is the case of a lot of young people, but also is the case for some retirees that have already life savings and they want to invest in buying a house here and perhaps living their lives here because it's good weather, it's cheap food, and it's cheap housing, so why not? They also use it for business. A lot of people buy houses here and rent them, resell them, etc. The fourth reason is gonna be great ambience. I'm not sure where you can or cannot hear right now, but there's music on the background. Somewhere around here, one of my neighbors must be having a party. Like here, the ambience of Mexico is great. I mean, it's very well known that Latin American people, it's reaching, friendly, kind. So as soon as you arrive to the country in the airport, you will notice that right away. The people is very welcoming, very friendly. They want to laugh with you. They want to drink a beer with you. China is also a very welcoming, was a very welcoming country back in the day. And people is very friendly and open and warm. I'm gonna be showing you a clip from a friend. He's an American friend that was living in China, and this case is more particular. His skin is color skin. His experience of living in China is very different from mine, and also now he's living in my country. So let's listen what he has to say about this.
Hey, what's up? So I moved to Mexico not from choice, but because I was taking a vacation from China in January 13th, 2020. You all know what happened then. So then I was like, oh shoot, we can quarantine in Mexico. But I'm happy because at that point, tacos and quesadillas and all that good stuff. And then I found out China closed the borders and I could never go back to my home in China of 12 years. How does Mexico compare to China? The cost of living is cheaper. The context is that I live in Tianjin, China, a city of around 15, 16 million people, 3-hour car ride from Beijing. Now I live in Querétaro, Mexico, suburb. Life is cheaper here in Mexico. How does Mexican life compare to China life? Although I was in China for 12 years and love it there, I gotta say, as an American, Mexican life culture in general is just closer to that of the USA. So I do like it here, though I miss China. I do like it here. It's nice as a black dude not being stared at all the time. It's like people here, they're cool with you being black. I mean, in China, maybe not. But here, at least it's not like grandmas, parents, kids, dogs, and cats are all staring at me like I'm an alien. Here I feel normal. And actually, stuff like this, I don't know if you can see this, but I could never do this in China. There's just, the culture here is so cool. There's a bike shop, and now I'm about to go ride. Stuff like this wouldn't happen in China. I have always thought of being in China 25% I like it, 75% I don't like it. Because there's just this dull annoyance in the back of your head, the annoyance with the daily pointing and staring and name calling. Not malicious name calling, but just, hey, there's a black person 11 times a day. That kind of grates on your soul, and you really have to deploy positive mental tactics in order to deal with it. But I don't have that here in Mexico. New language I'm having to learn, but it just feels nice. It's not hard to be here. So there you go. Hope that helps.
It will be unrespectful here to point out of people because they have color skin. Although there is a certain level of racism here, we are whiter. Some people is blonde here and they have better jobs, they have better opportunities, and some people is browner, blacker, how to call it. And they do have a harder time to get the best out of life. So coming back to the ambience, we have great music here. People is always listening to music. They are very cheerful. They are very warm. People is always joyful, about life. If you go out, people will be like, good morning. It's happy people. It's not people that is depressed, that is cold people. Number 5, warm people, which I've already mentioned. People is having high spirits almost all the time, or at least every day. It's a new day, it's a new opportunity. Especially if you are a foreigner, we are very welcoming of having contact with someone that is from faraway country, different looks, and they will be trying to talk to you in your language if it's English, or if they know the language, they will be super happy to have new friends, practicing their language. In this regard, when I was living in China, I was very not understanding of my Russian friends, because friends, I call them because after I met them, they were my friends, but at the beginning, let's say in the foreign dormitory, it was quite difficult. Like, we will go in the lift, and these Russian girls and guys will be so serious and quiet, and like it was a heavy kind of vibe that you will be there waiting for the lift to arrive to your floor. You could feel the tension on the lift because there was nothing said. And once I arrived to the lift, I'll be like, hi, and I'll be like always smiling. You guys know that, hi, and they'll be like, some didn't even reply. And they just stare at me like serious, cold looks. And I was like, wow, this is just way too much to take. But like Chinese will be more welcoming and more warm in that regard. I don't know if it has to do with the weather, but I believe it has somehow. It's well known all around the world that Latin Americans are perhaps the cheerfulest people all around the world. And they compare us oftentimes with Filipino, like from the Asian area, the Asian continent. They say the Latinos are the Filipinos because they are always super cheerful, joyful. They're always like singing, dancing, happy. Perhaps they are not super rich. They don't have a lot of material things or properties or wealth in the bank, but they are always happy. Number 6 is gonna be that Mexico has amazing travel destinations, and I do not need to emphasize that much about this one. If you haven't watched my previous vlog about my birthday, I'm gonna leave it to you somewhere around the screen for you to go and watch it, where I went to Riviera Maya. It is near Cancun. Travel destinations here are abundant, are amazing, are cheap. You could go every weekend to road trips or take the airplane, move from north to south, etc. Have you been traveling to Mexico recently, or you haven't? And the number 7 and the last for this video is gonna be that if you are a business-minded person, here it's a great market. It's like a very big market full of opportunities. 3 years ago, when I was living in China, I was selling wholesale from China to the world, you know, like I have a lot of Mexican clients, Peruvian clients, USA clients, etc. Of course, my main clients were mostly Mexicans because it's a great market. Some other countries around Latin America have smaller populations, except from Brazil, you know, but Brazil is another language. That makes a little bit of a gap from Brazil and all of us that speak Spanish. After staying here from 2020, I started importing some small boxes with some Chinese merchandise. Perhaps it was like 40 to 60 kilo boxes with little gadgets, accessories, whatever. I started promoting here these accessories, and my followers from Instagram, women, just bought instantly and became like loyal, frequent clients. For me, it was very surprising. I thought that during the pandemic, people would be saving money and not spending, but it was the opposite. People wanted to spend more because they were, you know, in a lockdown, they were just at home, so they got bored of the routine and they wanted to have something new. So I started growing my list of clients, which were previously just my followers. And I found out that a lot of them have very good acquisitive power. Like, they will purchase from me thousands of pesos each time the box arrived, and they were just willing to pay ASAP, like no problem, you know? So this has been my latest discovery living here in Mexico for the past 3 years, that people here have a lot of money. Of course, there are some that do not have, but still, there is a big market. There are big opportunities here for you to explode. If you want to come here, make business here, start something, do some trading of your brand of products, look for a business partner here to open your whatever, I don't know, restaurant, beauty brand, I don't know what is that you're selling, or service. Also, it's a great place to offer services because population is huge, and compared to other Latin countries that are smaller or that have less income overall, Mexico is very privileged. There are a lot of people here that are making a lot of money. So that's it for today, guys. Did you enjoy my video? Please say yes. No, it's okay if you didn't enjoy, or if you think that there is something else that I was missing and it's worth mentioning, please comment down below. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and also let me know which kind of topics would you like me to talk more about, business topics or culture topics. Kiss the world. Until the next time. Bye.